individuals, I said, if I can prevent someone from going through tremendous pain, I have the ability to prevent it. And I know there's nothing to be gained by them going through this pain. And I don't bother to prevent it, but I'm there to give them a hug afterwards. I am a very cruel person. I can't prevent it. There's nothing to be gained. We're not talking about strict or harsh love. We're not talking about disciplining a child. Right? A person's going to go through needless pain that I can prevent, and I don't bother preventing it, but I'll be there afterwards to give them a hug and to comfort them. I am cruel. So to me, it sounds very flowery. Oh, God's not there for this, but He's there for the pickup. But that is, to me, that is a cruel God. He can't prevent it. There's no reason, nothing good to be gained by it. And He doesn't. But He's there to help pick up afterwards. Now that, as I see it, and I'm happy to hear, Amy, just 1 second. Now, as I see it, if that's my view, there's something very serious lacking in God. He can't prevent it. Nothing to be gained, so you should prevent it. But just doesn't bother, doesn't involve Himself. Doesn't get involved in those sort of things. Well, why not? If my approach, which is, I believe, which clearly is the classic Jewish approach, there's nothing lacking in God. Where is there something lacking? In here. That's where it's lacking. That's where there's lacking. All right? And the Holocaust, a story that I tell often, is of the rabbi who was a rabbi who survived the Holocaust and was approached by someone and said, "Rabbi, you're a rabbi with all that you endured, all that you experienced, all that you saw. Don't you have questions?" And he says, "Oh boy, do I have questions. I have more questions than you can even imagine." And I believe that God has the answers. And my concern is, if I ask those questions in too pressing a manner, God will say, "Okay, you want the answers? Come here. I'll give you the answers. I'm willing to wait. I'm willing to wait." But the rabbi had questions. Every thinking person has questions, has things that trouble us. But if we're believing in a God, then we're believing in a being that far transcends anything that I can understand. And I'm more comfortable putting aside all the classic sources. Personally, I'm a lot more comfortable with a God who has a reason for doing things that seem to me unconscionable, incredible, horrific. I'm more comfortable believing in a God who has a calculation and all that, and ultimately, I hopefully will understand it, than believing in a God that just lets these things happen for no reason at all when He has the full ability to stop it. Amy.
I've been in situations where I hear a conservative or reform rabbi talk about this, and in my mind, and maybe it's because my mind is too simple, but I feel like those are kind of the same things. And that God, okay, you said God is not there in the disaster. But maybe what that really means is that, I'm just going to call him he, because that's what I like to do, just steps back a little bit so we can figure things out, because He put humans here. So I don't know, the Holocaust, when babies get sick, I mean, it makes me cry. I can't understand it, but why? In those situations, in my mind, I have to say He steps back for some reason.
Okay,
so
wait. Okay, so that's the key difference. Is it for some reason? Is it for a good? Is there a reason behind it? Meaning, is there good in it? and there's a reason for it, or is there no reason for it? If there is a reason for it, then we're saying that that which we see as being horrific, God has a reason for it. I'm there. But saying that he just steps back and lets things happen for no reason, that's where I again, putting aside the classic sources, that's where I run into a brick wall. That there's such a cruel God who would step back for no reason.
I mean, even I've asked all kinds of rabbis. There are no coincidences, and I think every rabbi said there's no coincidences.
Okay.
Right? So that's the same thing. There's no. It doesn't just happen.
Well, again, if we're saying he's not there for the tragedy, right? Unless I was misunderstanding both of them, right? Unless I was misunderstanding both of them, my understanding was God is not there for the tragedy, meaning it's not that. Now, I'm not saying that God necessarily does it, but if God allows it to happen, it must be part of his master plan of good. Even though I don't understand how this could be part of a master plan for good, right? But an example that's given is that a person witnessed the most horrific cruelty. He saw a person take a knife, cut open a human being, and start to take out parts of the body. Incredible, horrific cruelty, callous, harsh cruelty, until they realized that it was surgery. So the very same act of taking a knife and cutting open a human being and taking out parts of the body was saving the person's life. We see that. We see that. For a person who doesn't understand that, I was listening on NPR, this person had gone down to see these original tribes, right? One of them would see a doctor doing that to one of them. They let out the war whoop, and they'd all come with their tomahawks and kill that doctor.
Anesthesia.
I'm sorry?
There's anesthesia.
Yeah, he was saving their life. But they don't understand it.
Here.
And they see him as the cruelest person that they've ever met. Right? That's, if we're saying there's no coincidence, yes, God allows things to happen, but only if it is part of the master plan. If it's not going to be part of the master plan, and the classic examples we mentioned before, Paro wants to stop the Jewish Redeemer, so he makes a decree, all the boys thrown into the Nile. God says, that's the way you want to do it? Okay, you've got your free will. You can do that. Boys will be thrown into the Nile, but the Redeemer will be taken out by your daughter and housed and clothed and fed and educated in your house. And the Redeemer of Israel will be the Redeemer of Israel. The master plan, there'll be a Redeemer of Israel. You want to do it this way? Fair enough. That will be woven into the master plan. The brothers had Joseph's dream. We're going to bow down to you. We'll show you how we're not going to bow down to you. We're going to sell you as a slave to make sure that we'll never bow down to you. God says, that's how you want to do it? Fair enough. You're selling him as a slave. He'll end up in Egypt. He'll become second in command, and you'll all bow down to him. So, yes. Right? Unless it can be woven into the master plan, which is good, then it's not going to happen. I'm not saying that God is not we're not on strings, and God is making me jerk around according to his whims. I've got my free will, but that must be incorporated into the master plan, right? And if the master plan doesn't include Mr. So-and-so sitting over here feeling any pain, then I will not be able to cause that person pain.
From what I understand, the majority of suffering is some kind of atonement.
That's one way of looking at it.
The majority.
That's one way of looking at it.
I don't think so,
Well,
because a million and a half kids that went into the crematoriums, this is not atonement. But
unless we say, right, which is the same way that I look at my sister passing away at a young age, that this was a soul that was meant to come to this world for that period of time. That period of time came up. If we're looking at it from a this world perspective, we're sunk.
Yeah.
If we're looking at it from an olam haba perspective, and this is a small part of the whole picture, then a person is sent here for a period of time. When that period of time is up, it's time to go back home. Some of us need 80 years, some of us need 60 years, some of us need 6 months, some of us need 6 hours, some of us need 12 years, right? Why it happens in such a way, hanistarot, again, hanistarot laHashem Elokeinu, which means the hidden things, that is to Hashem our God.
So, I read an explanation to the Ramban, and never mind, and it does mind. And I felt a little bit better about what I read. It gave me some, that, there was a Mapatza Gadol, like the big, the Big Bang. But the Big Bang is something godly, for sure. Because it can't be that it's not God who put every single cell and all the microbiology and biology and everything into this small molecule that gave us the world. So to me, God is the creator. We say that God doesn't have any en lo dmut haguf. So it's not a man, it's not a figure.
Correct, no physicality.
And all the personalized things that we say about him, it's we give it to him.
In order for us to understand it.
Yes. But if God is mushlam, if God is a whole, then perfect, then it can't be that this God has feelings, that he's El Rachum v'Chanun, and he's punishing, and he's doing all these things, because if you have tchunot, how do you say, qualities or personalized, traits in you, then obviously you are prone to change. But if God is mushlam, then he cannot change. He will always be the one God that is completely mushlam, that is no. So if he's a whole, God that cannot change, and that we give the traits to God because it makes us understanding something, or it helps us to be better people, because he created the world, and I think God is nature. To me, God is nature. God is everything that is around us. It's godly, but things that are happening for good and bad, it's our deeds. It's what we do. We have the choice of bad and good and bad, and we choose to be. The Holocaust, God didn't do it. It's the German people who choose to be bad, and they did what they did because they wanted to be bad. They wanted to do bad things.
I agree with that.
It's not God's choice. It's the individual choice.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Good or bad.
But unless
just a second.
Sorry.
Just a second. And the fact that we are praying and we are doing good things and we are doing mitzvot is for us. It's not for him. It's for us to be better and better and better, and to strive to be better and better, and to get closer to the mushlam of God. So the fact that no, God will punish us if we do this, if we not do the mitzvot, God will punish us. No, there's no fear of God. There's fear of yourself, of you being doing bad things, it will affect you, it will affect your community, it will affect the world. If you're not doing it for God, you're doing it, God just created what He created for us to live on this face of the earth and to choose good in order to function as a personal human being, as part of a family, as part of a community, as part of a nation, and a part of the world. And for me, the fact that God is only the creator and that we are striving to be mushlam, like a whole piece, with that I'm not fearing Him, I'm fearing myself.
So I agree with a lot of what you said, but I disagree with some things. I'd say that there's I believe there's more to it than that. I agree, right? God's punishing. God doesn't need any of this.
Exactly.
He doesn't need any of this. God is shalem, does not need any of this. This is a gift to us, and what we make ourselves into is what we will have, both in this world and I believe in the next world. And if we do things that will distance us from God, then the greatest Gehenna, the greatest punishment in the world to come, is to not have that closeness that we are going to crave so much once we recognize what it is. And that is the Gehenna. The hell is the distance. Right? Someone that you love. I'm sorry?
Jews do not believe in Gehenna. No?
Jews do believe in Gehenna.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sure.
Jews do believe in Gehenna. There is one of the, that a person is responsible, right? You have a Ciner over here. Right? Can you get me just one of the art scrolls? The art scroll Ciner. I'm not sure if that has the Rambam's 13. Right. Certainly, one of the 13 principles of faith of the. Yeah, I'm just not sure. Yeah.
Dov's got to ask one.
Yeah.
I want to ask you something.
Just 1 second. Right. Of the Rambam's 13 principles of faith, is that there is ultimate responsibility, what we'll call it. Right, number 11, Sha'Hashem gomel tov l'shomrei mitzvotav u'ma'anish l'ovrei mitzvotav. Right, rewards those who observe the commandments and holds responsible those who violate His commandments. Right? Now, is Gehenna these fires with a devil and a pitchfork? Right? Right? I think the way the Maharal explains, Gehenna is the greatest hell, which a lot more than any fire, is feeling God, sensing God, and realizing that my actions have distanced myself from Him.
Personal torment then?
I'm sorry?
Personal torment? Personal torment?
Yes. And there is this process of purification that a person can go through after of incredible regret and resolve, right? That can atone for that. That can correct that to a degree. So I believe, right? Certainly the classic sources believe that we are responsible, right? So I agree with you, Yafi, that God doesn't need us. This is a gift from God. And either we have, and the gift from God is that ultimate connection called devekut, that we'll have with God. And the degree to which we'll have that is based upon the degree to which we build our relationship here and connect ourselves to the things that God says will connect you, and distance ourselves from the things that God says will distance you. And as Ramchal says throughout, and those are the positive commands, the mitzvot that we should do, those are the things that make the connection, and the things that distance us are the lav, are the don't do's, and those are things that will distance, therefore don't do those things. And that is, but I agree with you that God doesn't need us. Right? This is a gift. This is
And-
all
and again,
a
we cannot-
gift.
For Harvey and Irvine and the Holocaust, we cannot blame God. God didn't do it.
Well,
bad choice.
the Holocaust.
Bad choice of people.
I agree with you by the Holocaust, but I would maintain, I want to say before, unless this fit into the master plan, then he would have pulled the plug on it earlier. Okay? Now Harvey and Irma, we're not doing. But Harvey and Irma, Yafi, we're not doing Harvey and Irma.
Well, it's the power of nature.
Well,
nature come from?
One of the
Yeah.
rabbis in the internet said that when it's likui chama, it's all these things happen, like Oracle and all.
Oh, interesting.
Likui
Interesting.
chama. That's what the rabbi.
That was Rabbi Internet?
The
Rabbi Internet.
That's the thing.
That's a cousin of Rabbi Google, I believe.
I tell you that.
לא. אני סתם אומר, סתם. כן. לא, זה מובא מהגמרא, שליקוי חמה מביא דבר, כן.
likui chama.
כן, אני סתם, כן. Yes.
לא, אבל זה באמת
What did
ככה.
she say the reason? Rabbi?
Oh, the Gemara says that an eclipse is a foreboding of trouble that will come. That's interesting. That is interesting. Yeah, that is interesting. That was soon after the eclipse, right? All heck broke loose on the East Coast.
But
Yeah.
eclipse happens every year, just we cannot see it.
Right. So yeah, you're right. So there are those that explain when we see it, then yeah, and many of the commentators speak about it's a natural event going to the clock down to the second that we can. Yeah. So there, yeah.
Not from the fear
Yeah,
of God.
but yeah, we actually had a lunch and learn on that.
Oh.
Yeah.
And that's what he said.
Okay, yes.
Let me just say a couple of things. I think that we are here, we agree that we are here to evolve and get more pure and closer to God. That's one thing. And I think we agree also that God is in everything and everywhere and all the time. So what if this is about helping us evolve and be better? And what if what happens in these tragedies brings compassion, acts of compassion, which it does.
It does.
And actually, and that is the reason why we need to go through these tragedies, because otherwise we are not so compassionate.
Okay, so it's for a good purpose.
So there is a meaning in
It's for a good purpose.
Yeah, for-
About the Holocaust.
And Ora, what you're saying is, if you were God, you would make the same decision.
I think that I am in the image of God, and I am at the lower rank of the ladder. In other words.
But if you were at the top of the ladder, if you were God and knew everything that He did, you would make the same decision. Okay? Okay? Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Holocaust cannot be.
I don't know if
I don't understand the Holocaust.
I'm obviously not there yet, because I don't know if I said, if I was at the higher rank of the ladder, if I would do the same thing, because children die.
1 second. Amy, I'm not saying if you were at the top of the ladder and making the decision with your present understanding. I'm saying if you were at the top of the ladder with God's understanding, then the assumption we need to make is, if I were God, then I would make the same decisions that God is making.
God knows what he's
To
doing.
me, God is not making
Trust that there's a
Oh,
reason.
Exactly.
Trust him that he does.
Exactly. That's all I can do. All I can do is trust and believe that there's a reason for it, even though the things that go on in front of my face and the things that I've learned about, and a Holocaust, right? And a Holocaust is something that I can't wrap my head
I
around.
say to my kids, kids all the time, you're so lucky to be Jewish because we're encouraged to question, kind of be mad at God.
Yes,
Say,
yes. But
I don't know if
when I say Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad, what do? I cover my eyes.
Completely.
Because sometimes I have to cover my eyes and not look around and just try to focus on that faith, because what's going on around often challenges that faith, and that is the difficult state that we are in until we'll have that circumcision of the heart. But right now, it is as confusing can be.
I didn't know that. That's one of the reasons Father Derek Mormon to cover first Shema.
That's one of the reasons. Yeah.
Can I say everybody has a soul correction, and Hashem wants to bring that correction to the soul?
I would agree with that.
Okay.
I would agree with that.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
It's something, I guess, a fundamental premise. Is it that God can't or God doesn't control all things for a reason?
No, what I said was the three possibilities are God can't, God can and doesn't for a reason,
Right.
or God can and doesn't for no reason at all.
So, but in line with God can't is not an option.
Correct.
Okay.
From Judaism, God can't is not an option. So left with God can and doesn't, evidenced by a lot of terrible things that go on around the world, and then we're left with two choices. So God can and doesn't for a reason or for no reason. Either there's a reason or there's not a reason. If there's a reason, I sure don't understand it. If there's no reason, then, as I see it, he's pretty cruel. Therefore, besides the classic sources, I'm more comfortable with, I don't get it. There's a reason that I don't understand, then there's no reason. Okay.
Thank you.
Things that are purpose